Hey loves, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eminence Ziwegbe and welcome to Brand by Tidies. So today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make this beautiful underburst crisscross corset top, and as you can see I already made mine and it came out so beautiful. And enough of the talking, let's just dive right into the video. So as you can see, this is my pattern that I'm going to be using. I have my ruler and I have my tape rule. So the first thing I'm going to do is to take a vertical measurement, an horizontal line like so, and this is where I'm going to be starting all my vertical measurements. So the second thing I'm going to do here is to take my top length, and my top length is 17.5, and I'm just going to add half inches for seam allowance because I'm going to be doubling this. I'm going to be lining this with the fabric that I'm going to be using to cut my top. So that's why I have 18 inches. So if you're not doing that, make sure you add at least 2 inches that will serve as the folding for your top length. I hope you get what I said. So yeah, I'm just going to mark this out and mark the line out. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to place my tape rule like this, and I'm just going to mark out my vertical measurements. So I'm going to mark out my nipple points, which is 10 inches, and my underburst, which is 13 inches, and the 18 inches is going to serve as my waistline or my top length. So whichever one you're making, maybe a gown or a top, that's going to serve as that for you. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to take my shoulder measurements, and I'm working with 15 inches, so divided by 2 is 7.5, and I'm just going to place 7.5 like so and mark this out. Next, I'm going to take my armhole measurement, which is 8 inches, and I'm just going to mark this out. On that line, I'm still going to take 7.5 because I want my straight line to be accurate, and I'm going to take 7.5 and use my ruler to connect. Now after doing this, I'm going to take my bust measurement, and my bust measurement is 35, so divided by 4 is 8.75. so I'm just going to approximate this to 9 inches. So because I'm using a stretchy fabric, I'm going to remove 1 inches from this, and I'm just going to use 8 inches as the measurement instead of using 9 inches. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Because I'm using a stretchy fabric, I'm just using 8 inches as my bust measurement. So if you're not using a stretchy fabric, make sure you add sewing allowance and make sure you use your accurate measurements when you divide. Now I'm going to make my armhole curve. So for this, you can just go down by 4 inches and go in by half an inch to make this curve. I'm using my pencil because I don't have my armhole curve here and I don't want to make silly adjustments. So now I'm just going to use my marker to make this more visible for you guys to see. So now the next thing we are going to do is to determine how deep we want the middle neckline to be. So you know what I'm talking about when I said the middle neckline. You have to determine how deep you want this to be. For me, I'm using 8.5 inches. Also, later in this video, I went ahead to increase this to 9 inches. So yeah, I'm going to mark 8 inches and I'm going to go in by 1/4 of an inch like you see me doing in the video. I went in by 1/4 of an inch and not half inch because I feel like half inch is always too big. So after that, using my nipple to nipple measurements, which is 8 divided by 2, I'm going to mark 4 inches on a straight line from my nipple point to my waistline. So you can see what I'm doing in the video. I'm just going to use my ruler now to connect these points. Now I'm trying to label it so you don't get confused. This is my nipple point, my underburst, my top length or an half length if you're making like a gown. So this is what we have. Now the next thing we are going to do is to determine the distance between our nipple point to underburst, and for mine it's 3 inches. So I'm just going to mark 3 inches round, not really round because you're not making it like a corset cup and all that. You're just going to stop at around your nipple points. So as you can see me doing in the video, I'm not taking this point past my nipple point, so you can see where I'm stopping. Now I'm just going to use a free hand to connect this to my neckline. So this is what we have, and on the other side from this point I'm going to connect to the 3 inches. But yeah, I wish I went in more by 1 inches before connect, not really 1 inches, but maybe half an inch before connecting, because by the time I was sewing I had little allowance to really join my side, although it came out nice, but it was just really small and I had to manage. So you can just go in by half inch at the armhole, behind the armhole, behind this L you can see. So just go in by half inch before to make your curve. So yeah, I'm still doing the same thing, using 3 inches for my other side. For this point that I'm marking right now, you can make it maybe like 3.2 inches, because the outer side for the side seam, this place at close to the side seam is always more fuller, the bust is always more fuller there. So this is what I did, and I connected it to my armhole, as you can see. So I'm just using my marker to make this more visible for you. I hope you understand this part. This is just 3 inches, but if you don't understand, make sure to comment and I'm going to reply you. Now I'm going to go down by half an inch, because you don't want this is like a crop top, and you don't want it to be, you know, really close to your armpits or armhole. You don't want it to be that tight, so just go down by maybe half an inch. You can even go down to 1 inch if you want. Now after doing this, I'm going to connect. You don't really need this connecting, to be honest, because you're going to connect it to a new. Okay, let's just, now I'm going to mark out my bust measurements, and I'm working with 35. So as you can see, I went ahead to mark my bust measurements on my nipple points, which was a mistake. You're supposed to mark this on your bust line. So later I'm going to explain this. I'm going to realize this later, because I didn't mark the line out, so I actually forgot. So at the waistline I'm working with 29, and divided by 4 is 7.25. so I'm not going to be marking 7.25. I'm just going to remove 1 inches like I did for the bust and mesh and mark 6.25. So yeah, I'm realizing that I marked my bust measurements on the wrong line. So I'm just trying to, you know, adjust that. So to get your bust line is just 2 inches above your nipple point. That's your bust line. So it's almost the same thing as your armhole. That's why I always use my armhole. So this is what we have, and I'm just going to connect this. So as you can see, this is what we have, and I didn't add any allowance to this. In fact, I removed 1 inches, and this is because I'm using a stretchy fabric. So if you're not using a stretchy fabric, make sure you use your accurate measurements, and make sure you add 1 inches for seam allowance, or 1.5. 1 inches is okay actually. So yeah, I went down by 1 inches at my nipple point, as you can see, and I took half an inch on both sides at the waistline, and I'm just going to use my ruler to connect it to that point. I hope you get what I did here, but you can see it in the video, so just look at it and you're going to understand. I went down by 1 inches, and I took half an inch on both sides at the waistline. So this I'm not going to be using, but I'm just doing this for the like of people who are using a who are not using stretchy fabric, because I'm not going to be needing this. I'm just doing this because of people who are not using stretchy fabric. So after doing this, make sure you add your dart allowance. Make sure you add that half an inch that you remove at the dart. Make sure you add it back to your measurements, and make sure you use your accurate measurements. Now moving on, we are going to make our neckline. So I'm just doing a free neckline, like 3 by 3 inches. We don't really need this, but I'm just trying to use this to make a point. Yeah, I'm using this to make a point. So after marking that out, I'm going to go in by 2 inches from the armhole, and I'm going to mark. So yeah, I was supposed to connect this to my new armhole, but obviously the girl did not do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut, and come back and realize that I did not cut. Yeah. So as you can see, I'm just using my ruler to mark this like so. I'm just using my ruler to mark this. So I'm connecting it to my new bust line. So I'm just going to cut, and I'm going to cut out my neckline as well. Now you want to make sure that you add ½ inch. This is me just adjusting it back to 9, is it 9.5 at this point? I can't really remember, but I bent down by ½ an inch for the neckline, like I said at the beginning of the video. So this is what we have. So make sure you add half an inch for your seam allowance round your cup. I'm going to do this right now. So make sure you do this before cutting. I don't know why my hand was so fast, to be honest. So I'm just adding half an inch seam allowance round the cup like so. So this is what we have, and I'm just going to connect it with my marker. So after this, I'm going to open it like so, and I'm going to determine how open I want my crisscross to be. So you should get what I'm trying to say when I say crisscross. Yeah. So for mine, I went in by 1 inches after the dart line. After my 4 inches, I went in by 1 inches. So that's where I'm going to be marking. That's where I want my boobs to show from. So you can go outer or inward for yours, depending on what you are making. So I'm just going to use my biro to make a freehand sketch upward. This will be like a straight line, but it's actually like a curve. So this should be, you should follow the pattern of what you are making. So when I'm done with this, you're going to see what I have. This is how the pattern is going to look when you wear your clothes. So you can see what I have here. It's like a curve, but it's not really a curve, and I'm going to connect it to the midpoints, and that folding is going to serve as my midpoint. Now after doing that, I'm going to use my ruler to connect this to the midpoint. So yeah, this is what we have, and it's almost like my god, this is looking nice already. So I'm just using my marker to connect this like so. Yeah, and on the other side I'm going to use my marker to, you know, connect it with my free hand to the other edge of the cup. So this is what we have. Oh my god, this is so fine. Wait, let's wait and gush over this. let's wait and gush over this, to be honest. This is looking really nice already. It's really looking like wow. Okay, let's go ahead and cut this out. So make sure you cut this first before cutting the cup. So this is not how the crisscross, I don't know what to call this part, to be honest. Let's call it the shoulder or crisscross. Anyone I say, just know this, I'm talking about that pattern up. So I'm going to be adding this, doing the slash and spread method in order to get the gathers that is at that point, or pleats that is at that point. So this is what we have. To cut the other side, all you need to do is just flip it over and you're going to cut the other side. So this is what we have. I'm just going to go ahead and label this, because if you don't label this as the right side or left side, you are going to misplace it, and if you misplace it, it's not going to come out nice. So make sure you label this as left or right. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut my cup, my corsets, my underburst corsets, whatever this is called. I'm going to cut it out, and I'm going to follow my new bust line. Yeah, my new bust line. Make sure you pin while cutting, because this is paper and it can really move. At this point I wanted to go down a little bit at the neck points, but I didn't do it. So this is what we have. So yeah, I'm just going to draw the lines that I'm going to be using to make the slash and spread, you know, pattern or cutting. And I'm not going to open this in this video. I'm going to open it in my next video, where I'm going to be showing you guys how to sew this pattern on fabric, how to bring this pattern to life basically. And it's a marvelous creation. Okay, so you just have to draw like some random line on this. That's all you need. It's not that deep. So moving on to the back pattern, all you need to do, this is really simple. Just fold your paper or whatever you're using, like so. Place your corset pattern on it, and make sure you pin this down. And after pinning, you're going to cut this out. So I'm just going to use my ruler, place it like so, the way I'm doing, like this, the way I place it, and I'm going to draw my line. So all you need to do is just follow this pattern like so. So while I was sewing, I realized, because I've made this kind of top a lot, and one thing I noticed is that when you for this particular kind of top, you always need that at the back. And I'm not even talking about that the normal darts that we do at the waistline. If you're using a stretchy fabric and you want it to be really fitted at the back, you don't want it to be like really free, you have to add like an upside down dart. So I went ahead to do this when I was sewing, but I feel like if you are, when you are cutting your pattern, you can remove that. So I didn't do this while I was drafting the pattern, but what you can do here is make an upside down dart. So these darts will be like long from the, let's say from the neckline to the waist part, but it's going to be upside down using your nipple to nipple measurements. So don't use your nipple to nipple measurements because it might be a little bit wider, considering the fact that you are using a stretchy fabric. So just use 6 inches divided by 2, which is 3 inches, to make the darts. So yeah, we have it. This is the end of the video. I hope you love it and I hope it was helpful. If you find this video helpful, please give it a big thumbs up and click on the notification bell, so whenever I post, you are going to get a notification. And do not forget to subscribe, or also comment if you need any help or if you like this video. So thank you for watching. I love you guys. See you in my